Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're listening to this. We are recapping this week's RHONY, and the confusion just continues. I really don't know what to believe. I don't know what is up, who's on first. One thing I do agree with, regardless of who was in the know, who wasn't, I agree with Sai by saying that Rebecca and Aaron need to check their pregnancy privilege, which I think was a great way of saying it. You are someone who has never had issues conceiving. You might not understand that pretending to be pregnant is not funny. And she pointed out what we pointed out last week. You've got Jessel and Brynn freezing eggs right now. You've got not Jessel and Brynn. I'm sorry. You've got Uba and Brynn freezing eggs. And you've got Jessel, who has shared how challenging and hard IVF was, to the point that she got an IVF coach. So it's like, why did you think this was a funny prank?
Listen, I would have loved Sai. I'm glad she did it in the confessional, but I would have loved in the moment for her to say wait, before we get mad on who was in on this joke and who wasn't, can we just talk about the fact that this isn't funny, period? I kind of wished it would have gone there instead of focusing so much on I knew, she knew. Well, she didn't tell me, or that why didn't she say that I knew or whatever? Yes, it was a setup for Brynn, but I think the bigger issue to me was kind of more, well, I mean, I'm not Brynn. I guess I would have an issue with that if someone was setting me up. But I also think another issue is just the prank wasn't funny. I mean, they were better off. Housewives love to talk about who's broke, whose house is going in foreclosure. Like we said last week, there was a lot of other ways to set Brynn up, and this was not it. And I wish one of the women would have at least called that out. And maybe we'll get that in the next episode with Aaron coming to the pigeon lunch. If I hear the word pigeon one more goddamn time.
We're taking these pigeons. They're like, we have to figure out who, like they said, the leaky pigeon
The
is.
leaky pigeon.
Which, you know what that, I mean, it kind of makes me think of like a pigeon just shitting and peeing everywhere, which is what they do. But I don't know. I guess I was like, we gotta let the pigeons go,
Gotta let the mouse go. Gotta let the pigeons go. I am not here for it at all.
Yeah. It did. Okay. So a few things that it did prove, though. Regardless of whether or not Brynn was in the know or not, she embellished this quite a bit. And maybe she said she was doing it because she was trying to perpetuate the whole rumor and keep the whole joke going. But I don't know. I felt like she took a lot of liberties with it. I'm still not convinced that Aaron fully told her it was a joke.
I don't know that I am either, only because of her actions once they said it was a prank. If someone would have, I would have been like, ha, I know, we got you so good. I would have said something like that, or pointed out that I was in the know too. I wouldn't have then just moved on. That part seems weird. And this is the issue. I legit was having a conversation with a friend today at lunch about this. RHONY's like, it feels like the storylines feels much more manufactured or whatever. And case in point, Brynn, follow up your self-producing. This is a moment where you should have reacted, because it would have came across much more organically than you weave in the story later at this pigeon picnic and being like, wait, actually, I knew. And that's why I was like, is she really pregnant though?
Yeah, I was like, okay. I also kind of jumping ahead, but I also feel like that might be where Uba and Brynn's drama and conflict comes from. Because when Uba learned that, she was like, you were framed. You weren't just set up. You were framed. You were meant to look like you were the bad person in all of this, when really the leaky pigeon, which I don't disagree with, is Aaron. Because if Aaron mentioned it to, even if she just mentioned it to Brynn, was kind of like, not like, she told Brynn, she told Jessel, she told Racquel. It's sort of like, okay, you're the one actually talking about this more than anyone else was. Now, did Brynn embellish it? 100%. But I think Uba at that picnic, though, was very much team Brynn, seemed to be very upset with Aaron. I can see Uba going to Aaron and being like, hey, I'm not Brynn's biggest fan, but if you're going to make her look bad and make it turn this out to something it's not, I'm not going to be able to be friends with you. This isn't the way we go about this. And I think Uba was already kind of annoyed with Aaron, because she said, I know a secret about every single one of you. And Uba was very quick to be like, what's my secret? Tell it to the group.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I don't have one for you.
She
And it's
didn't
like,
like it. I will
yeah,
say, not so shocking spoiler. As you guys know, I'm a big Jeff Lewis live listener, and Uba and Aaron were on together, and they're like very besties, chummy. So I think your angle of her telling what like Bryn's side, I think if anything, it's going to reinforce to Uba how much Brynn
Brynn manipulates.
manipulates the story and triggers her like no other. So I think that's what we may be seeing in Puerto Rico. I don't know. I mean, I'm intrigued. We're going to keep on watching because Abby and I are not quitters. Once we commit to a housewife season, it's
I do.
really hard
Well,
for us to get
I
out.
want to see this trip. I want to see what happens. That like Sai basically like came on Instagram, was like begging all of us not to give up. I mean, she definitely was living in the comment section from last week and was like, everybody hated the prank. She wasn't. I believe Sai. I don't think she knew it was a prank. Her reaction to it, even in the moment when they're like, "We got you," she was like, "What?" Like
Yeah,
she
the
was.
wheels were turning a little bit.
Yeah,
She was like
she's like, "This isn't
processing
even
what was
funny."
happening.
Yeah. So, but I agree. I think this is what leads to a bigger rift between Uba and Brynn. It just like, because Uba already thinks she can't really trust Brynn. This is only going to like further solidify that. I will say, well, I'm not loving Brynn this season. There were moments of this episode where I'm like, I wish you could be more like this all the time. Be a little bit more vulnerable, be a little bit more real. When she was meeting with Jessel, because they were hoping to see all of
Semen.
the semen, well, it's like the
Maybe.
Navy, all the men that they were in the wrong spot, which I found hilarious. But she was talking about how she's, freezing her eggs and all these things. And I do think that's a very relatable story for a lot of women out there, because if you want to be a mom, but you're not going to just, you want it to be with the right person, or you're willing to do it. I give Brynn credit for the way she's thinking about going about this. Like, there's no right or wrong way to form a family, I think, because you could do the quote traditional and you don't know what's going to happen. Look at Beverly Hills. All these traditional families are now divorcing. So, there's no guaranteed right way to do it. But I think it's really hard. She's like talking about her age, which sucks for women. Like, it really sucks that we have this like ticking timeline of when we really can more easily have a like statistically more healthy baby. But she hasn't met the person yet. I think that's really relatable. I have friends in that situation. Like, I'm not going to marry the wrong guy, but
Yeah,
I
we have
want
a mutual friend who did it on
to.
her own,
Yeah,
and we're
she's like,
constantly like blown away. Like, shout out to you, Emily. I don't know if you listen, but shout out to you. We're constantly blown away by, you made that decision for yourself or you're doing it. So
yeah,
it's not an easy decision. And you're 100% right. I think it's a very common thing. We're both 39. We know some people who haven't found their person yet. And so we know a lot of people that would personally who would deeply relate, let alone the
yeah.
entire
I mean,
United States, UK,
right.
whomever, like who's watching RHONY. So you're right. I think that's a part of her. If she would take down the little gimmick, the little,
Clarity, sexy. Yeah, all the time, all the time. I mean, every now and then sprinkle it in. It's part of your
yes.
personality, but like the overdoing of it. I
It
even
just feels like a mask. I think we
yeah,
probably have
it's a
talked about this.
shield.
It's a
Yeah.
shield. It's kind of like it's much more comfortable for her to be like that versus
And again, I wish
not
she
real.
actually would have said to Aaron about the whole prank, like, "Hey, I get like you think this is funny, but I like injected myself with needles. I was bloated. It was like physically painful what I went through to potentially one day have a child. So like, just like, I get she's married and she just had a baby and like good for her. She's fertile myrtle, but like, it's not, it's not funny. I wish I get like with you. I just wish somebody would have said that to
Yes,
them
in the moment.
in
Yeah.
the moment. And I'm sure it's gonna be addressed at the reunion, but I do feel like in that moment, it's something that it would have been more powerful had it been said there.
Yes.
And
Yes.
maybe it was and it was cut. We don't know. So
We don't
we'll,
know. And it could still be coming. So maybe we're
yeah,
manifesting it. Maybe
yeah.
that moment is still coming. And if not, we'll get at the reunion for sure. Because they're going
I,
to see all the comments and it's going to be a little slightly directed in that way of like, okay. And Andy's mentioned, so I was listening to Radio Andy today and someone called in saying, I love the new RHONY, like don't cancel it. And he's, I didn't love that storyline, the prank, the baby storyline. He's like, no, I didn't either. He's like, don't worry, it's not going anywhere. He's like, I really love like all these women are really aspirational and they're, beautiful and yada yada. So I don't think RHONY is going away. I still stand by the cast shakeups that you and I have discussed, but I just so badly wish, and I'm going to beat a dead horse, and Abby, I know you agree. I just wish they didn't call it RHONY.
Yeah.
I
Or
think that's
just
also like a big issue because we're
we're
always going to be comparing.
well, yeah, and they're like just continuing as if it's like it's saying season 15. I'm like, this is season 2, you know? And also I think at the end of the day, and a lot of you guys have made these comments and DMs with us and we've discussed it. It's very obvious that none of these women were friends before. They were all
Yeah.
casted individually, which part of RHONY, the original, what made it so special is like some of these women truly like met each other in their early 20s when they were like single in New York City. And those are just special memories. If you, even if you grow apart from somebody, if there's somebody I see that I used to like, you know, you and I would see, like we'd be hitting up Clayton together in our single
Yeah.
days, you hold a special place in your heart for those people because it was such a weird and growing and like important time of your life where you didn't have like a full-blown career yet. We were all just doing entry-level jobs. We didn't have a ton of money. Some of us were in relationships, some of us weren't, but it was just like very like such a like a growing journey time in our life. So I think that's missing as well. But give these women some time, and if they develop some authentic real relationships by seasons 5 or 6, you know, this could be, you know, a lot better, but
Yes.
they're going to have to bring in some real friends, I think, at some
Yes.
point.
And I know since season 1, they've been hanging out. Like you definitely see the pairings who are tight. You could definitely see who's connected and not. But I think about Salt Lake. I don't know that all those women were necessarily friends either. Granted, they had enough drama with Jen Shaw and everything else that maybe took away from that. It's a completely different, there's a lot more little
I
differences
think
to unpack there.
yeah.
But
I think with Salt Lake, there was enough of them that, like, you know, because Lisa and Heather had gone to college
yeah,
together. Whitney and Heather found out, like, they were cousins, but this was, like, 5 years before the show started, you know, so, like, there are some, I think, more authentic connections, but, again, this is why you don't call it season 15, because if I'm
yeah,
watching a season 15 of a show, I'm thinking some of these women have known each other for 15 years, and we're just
yes,
not at that point.
for
Uh,
sure.
I will say Racquel, I think, is amazing, an amazing housewife. She does such a good job of like sharing her opinions, her life, and she does it in such an authentic way. Like they're in the sex shop, you know, and she starts talking about her mom, and it just felt very like this sounds so weird, but it just felt very real. Like if you were with a friend and you're discussing your engagement party and you're maybe at like a silly store, you might still have a moment where you're going to like be a little bit more serious and talk about the topic of a family member not being at the engagement party. And I just feel like, I don't know, she just does such a good job of the way she just shares her life.
She's an amazing cast.
Yes.
Like she's just so intriguing. The way she presents herself on camera, it feels like no bullshit. It feels like very genuine. I mean, I say it every time. Mel's a star. I like want to meet Mel. Mel seems like the best times. Raquel does too, but Mel is definitely like, you know, it seems like I don't want to say the more fun one, but just a little bit more spunky, I guess, between the two. But yeah, I thought, you know, to hear her mom was very progressive and moved back to Puerto Rico and unfortunately didn't approve of her lifestyle. And we see in the trailer that they're gonna reconnect, which is a big, powerful moment. So I just love everything about Raquel. And I think a lot of viewers, a lot of you all listening too, I think we all can agree that Raquel is a great cast.
Great addition. Yeah. I really am enjoying her way better than Rebecca Minkoff, who's given us like absolutely nothing.
What a
Uh,
waste.
I saw this thing that was like a TikTok. It was like me walking to HR after calling a coworker, nicknaming a coworker decaf because they bring no energy to the team. And I'm like, Rebecca Minkoff is decaf. Like to me, she is decaf coffee. What is the point?
What is
What
the
is the
point?
point?
Literally, if you're not even going to go there with the Scientology thing, like, what is the point? Because
You are decaf coffee. I'm sorry, Rebecca Minkoff. You are decaf coffee, and I
who's
don't feel
more
bad.
decaf coffee, Rebecca Minkoff or Stacy from Potomac?
Oh, Rebecca Minkoff for
Yeah,
sure.
I agree
Stacey's
with
like
that.
a half calf, like a little bit of a mix. Sometimes you get a jolt and you're like, whoa, where's she coming from?
With
And
the
other times
facial
she's like,
expressions.
and then and then the caffeine wears off and she's like, you know, at
Yeah.
least she gives us a little bit of a mix. You know
Yeah,
what?
she
The
gives
one
a
thing,
little. She's trying.
and I will say
Stacey's
for
trying.
Stacey, at this point, I'm watching just to see her facial reactions.
Oh, for
Like,
sure. For sure. I want to know your take on Brynn and Gideon. We spent a lot of time with her freezing her eggs and basically wanting to co-parent with Gideon.
I actually didn't hate this. This was another moment where I'm like, I enjoy seeing a more real side of Brynn. Now, I hope this is real. Like, there was also a part of me, I was like, you do have to wonder, like, he lives in London. Like, are they really going to do this? Was this a little bit of like a manufactured setup scene? Because it does feel a little crazy to be like, hey, like, we're going to have this wine sommelier like there, but surprise, no, we're babysitting. And I'm going to talk to you about how I want to like basically co-parent,
They
but
definitely
not.
had that conversation off camera.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, cause he was
that's
way too like, well, I kind of like this. I'm like, okay. And maybe he does feel that way. It just that a part of it felt a little like manufactured. Now, I will say though, I did like her being a little bit more vulnerable and like, even though she was like, I'm smiling and laughing, but it's because I'm really nervous. Like, I just appreciated her being like real in that moment where sometimes when she does that and she gets flirty, laughy, she leans into it so heavily that you're like, okay, Brynn, we know you're uncomfortable right now. We know you're nervous right now. Like, just acknowledge that emotion. I thought it was interesting. Like, I mean, I do think she really wants to be a mom. I think this is something really, really
100%.
important to her.
Yes.
And if it's like, hey, this is a person that I love, I'm not in love with, but I love, and there's like personalities of him and there's characteristics that I would love for my child to have, then hey, if he's good with it and they can make it work. I do think the part about him living in London half the time, like she's like, we're not skiing. This can't be cross country. So like, but you said it'll be 98% you, 2% him. So like, do you want to be a single mom that just gets his sperm, or do you really want a true co-parent partner?
I will say I don't love the idea. I'm not opposed to like a friends. I think it's one thing if your friendship has always been platonic. I think exes, and when one ex is in love with the other person and they're going to so badly after being like, I love you, like, why? Like, I can just see a couple challenges coming through from Gideon's perspective of the false hope that I gave her this baby. She's going to finally say yes to me. What if that doesn't happen? And then also like the challenging part of watching her date someone else and having to be like that connected to her. It doesn't feel right to me with Gideon. If she had, some gays she knows, and like that's like a whole different thing where you can truly coexist. It seems to me from what we've seen in Gideon, I like want to like protect his little heart because it's a big decision. I think people underestimate at times until you are a parent that choosing someone to be a parent with, you are with them for life. Like I have a
Forever.
friend who's going through a divorce and you don't want it to not be amicable. Like, so that's kind of, I think that's, I have that in my head a little bit.
Yeah, I think if it's something they both really want, and then hey, go for it. I almost wonder though for Brynn, if you want to be a mom this bad, maybe just go the Lala route and go to a sperm bank. It's because of
Yes.
all the things you said. It can get very messy. And what happens if he wants to be more involved than you want him to? But it's his sperm. Technically, it's his child.
Yes.
Legally, he has every right to be super involved in that kid's life. So there's definitely, I think if they've really talked about it and this is something they both really want. I mean, you always thought that maybe their end game.
I do. And I want that. I genuinely do. As someone who's a lover of romance and smut and all that shit, I definitely do. I don't know. I just think I would want that the ending before you would having the kid.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So, um, well, switching gears, what did you think of Pavitt and Jessel and their therapy session?
I just stuck my tongue out and made a face. You guys can't see it. Number one, if you are going to your first couples therapy session, it should not be via Zoom. It's not going to be as impactful. It feels more like checking a box. You go see that person in person.
But you know that this person was overseas, right?
Oh, well, I don't care if he was overseas or not. You find someone in New York.
Yeah, well, so in the previous episode, she intentionally picked somebody. I feel like it was like from Brazil. She tried to find somebody that would match more of Pavitt's like personality, opinion, like
Clearly, I just
POV. No,
typical
but so anyway,
typical
that's why
me, like, steamrolled through that.
that's
But
part of the reason why they were doing it virtual. But I agree. I think
I
especially
just
if it's your first time, like it needs to be in person.
I just think I get to the point you just reminded me of. It just needs to be in person. It's one thing, like, once you're established and you're comfortable and, like, fine, Zoom, whatever, but it's not the same.
I mean, like he really wasn't taking this very seriously. He was like
No.
putting like a food spread out. It's like, dude, I will say I give them credit for sharing, a little bit more of their marriage. Not very many of, the couples would necessarily like welcome the cameras into their first therapy session. I think it's pretty clear they're going to end up having this third kid. I think like Papa just needs to come to terms with it.
I can see them going. I don't know why. It wouldn't shock me if they went down the surrogacy route. Like, it wouldn't shock me if that's what happened. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But
Well, the
yes,
way he is with money, I don't know.
I don't know.
Surrogates are
But she
not
has an
cheap.
IVF coach. The thing is,
Right.
and she's buying her mom this jewelry, and she's like, "Oh, that's fine." So, I mean, who knows? It wouldn't shock me either if they
Yeah.
end up with a kid. What did you think about the Museum of Sex Shop slash grown up
I was like,
playground?
I wanna go to this place.
I
Okay,
think
one,
it'd
I
be
love
funny the jerk off competition.
I mean, like, yeah, the games are hilarious. I actually think this would be, like, the perfect thing to do for, like, a bachelorette, a 40th birthday, a divorce party. Like, I just think it's, like, really fun
Options are
and
endless.
silly. Yeah, options are endless. For some reason, for me, though, I would only wanna go with, like, all the girls. I think it'd be weird if it was, like, a couples thing, like, because then it's like, I don't really wanna see what sex toys, like, it's
Yeah,
different like, could go with you to a sex shop, and I could, like, be like, "Oh, like, I like, this is a
yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
product," but it'd be weird to see you, like, with your
Y-
husband buying it because 'cause
Yeah,
I'm like, "Ugh," like, now it's like the image is
yeah.
a little bit more there.
It's a
I
little
also a
too real.
little too real, and again, like, you and I have, like, shared, like, my friends, I don't know what it is, but, like, in the last couple of years, it's like when we all get together, the conversation immediately goes to everyone's sex life, and I think it's more because as you get older, especially if you have kids, it's, like, harder to make time for it and like you want to spice it up. And so I don't know, it's just become a very open topic amongst my
Yes,
group of
which
friends.
we're about to travel with our husbands.
Oh
I'm
yeah, it's
sure
gonna
it'll come
come
up
up
at
a
some
lot.
point. Yeah. But it's just, I also think it's a beauty of getting older. And I think
Yeah.
after doctors see your vagina and everything, you're just like, "Well,
Well, also
whatever."
I feel like we all know everyone's having it. So I like I don't know, I appreciated them like going to the sex shop and like being a little more open, sex positive. I am like floored by the number of my friends who like the things they have not done or tried. Like I'll just go there. Like the amount of my friends are like, I've never used lube, but I think it could really help. I'm embarrassed to buy it. One, buy that shit on Amazon.
Everything you can get it shipped these
Like,
days.
yeah, it's like no one has you have to like walk into Walgreens, be like, hi, where's your lube for sexual pleasure? Like, this isn't like,
Yeah.
having to buy, like, condoms at at a gas
Yeah.
station.
Yeah.
But
Gotta
so I don't
grease
know,
it up.
I appreciated them being really, like, open about it because I am surprised sometimes by the number of people who are, like, embarrassed to, like, maybe they wanna try introducing toys into their sex life, and they're, like, afraid to bring it up to their partner or to even, like, talk about it. So, good for them. And I just think that place looks like a lot of fun.
No, it does actually look fun. The next time we're in New York,
I mean, the
if it just
glory
has
hole,
yeah, we'll just go,
I
you
mean,
and I. We'll leave if our husbands are there. We'll just leave them.
we need to go play this glory hole game. So,
Yeah.
like, hang back
To see
and
who wins. Yeah.
I would definitely win because I would just be, like, way too competitive about it. I'd
You
probably,
would.
like it'd
You would.
be,
Yeah.
um,
Well,
uh
okay, so let's talk about the pigeon picnic.
well, I do wanna give a shout out. There's actually a friend of mine, she does, like, these type of picnics in St. Louis. I was, like, really excited to see so alpaca picnic, it sounds like alpaca picnic, but it's the animal alpaca picnic. In St. Louis, Julie is amazing, does the most beautiful picnics you've ever seen. I've been, like, dying to do one. I love that, like, that Uba did this. I think it's really, like, fun and pretty and, like, a cute thing to do with your girls. Um, I feel like we're leaning too hard into the pigeon theme. That being said, it looked very nice. I
I was
liked
gonna say
having
it did look cute. I thought it was cute.
I'm like, I'm okay with it because it looks cute, but
It
I
was in a
really
park. It
yeah,
made
like
sense.
pigeons are gonna be there, but like we're leaning so heavy into these pigeons. And I don't really know why other than Uba saying that everyone's like a pigeon. And it's like, why are we sticking to this?
Yeah. We need a couple other catchphrases. As fans, we like to lean in a catchphrase, a moment. A little too
Pigeon's
much.
just yeah. But no, I liked it. I thought it was really interesting. It felt like some of the women were very quick to switch sides and be like, "Oh, Brynn, you were set up. Like, all is forgiven. We're good now." Like, I need to know a little bit more. Why are Sai and Brynn all of a sudden okay? Is Sai still just keeping it surface? Like, I need to know, like, because
Yeah.
in that moment, it seemed like they were, like, actually, like, really happy and excited to see one another, and as if, like, the beef had truly been squashed, and I haven't like, I feel like we
Yeah,
missed
we haven't
that.
seen, like, that moment. My guess it's probably a bit surface. Sai was recently on Jeff Lewis, the whatever franchise, the sixth housewife or any show, basically. But uh, when she talks about Brynn, she says she always has a lot of fun with her. It didn't get much deeper than that. So maybe it's just someone she knows she'll have fun with. I don't know. But you're right. There is a little bit of a disconnect there from a viewer perspective of like, you guys literally almost ripped each other's heads
Yeah.
out. And now we're like hugging. So did you guys go get lunch? We don't know about it. Like, how did we kind of get over it? Or maybe
Yeah.
they just truly just were like, fuck it. Let's get over it. There could have been text sent, things we didn't see. But that's
Yeah,
the
and
whole
it could
thing
have
with
been
this
from a, like
show that sometimes it's hard for us to keep track of.
I think that's where I have the biggest issue, and it could have been also too part of, like, the at the sex museum, maybe more was discussed. I mean, as Brynn was sharing, like, "No, I knew about it. That's why I was, like," opened up with, like, "Hey, sluts," or, "Hey," forgot what she said.
Or hose, like something
Hose
hose.
or something, but you could see some of the women's, like, the wheels were turning, and they're like, "Wait a minute, like, Aaron left that out. I don't even think she told Rebecca," and so then it was like, Bryn's like, "Wait, no," and again, I don't
And
know
then
who's
Racquel knew. I mean,
yeah,
Racquel kept it quiet.
she kept it very quiet. She actually great acting because she, like, didn't really have a big response one way or another.
No. Yeah, my question I would have been, and maybe we're gonna get it because it's a to be continued, your favorite, as Aaron's like walking in with big smiles. I would have just asked Brynn, like, why didn't you say something in the moment? Why didn't you call her
Right.
out?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're about to get that, but that's the part that's like a little bit of a disconnect to me. And Aaron seems to stand by the fact that her version is, oh, she pregnant, and she goes, or the dad, or
Yeah.
and she's letting Brynn kind of like come to her own assumptions, and she's like, like she's
Yeah,
not
she said
saying
yeah.
enough. So I don't know.
Yeah, well,
But the mid-season trailer came out. Puerto Rico does look interesting. Some people are comparing it. I don't think you can ever
it's
compare it
not
to
Scary
Scary
Island.
Island.
Yeah, just stop, everyone. That's just blasphemy,
That's
but
disrespectful.
yeah, come on, don't the asylum that we were raised in would never, but no, I mean, it looks good. It looks, a little bit more dramatic, obviously, than what we've been having. I think ultimately, I'm over this season, I will say this, like, I kind of am just along for the ride to see, like, what ultimately leads to the Uba Brynn thing, and other than that, like, I feel kind of checked out. I do wanna see Raquel and her mom. I think that will be a really compelling, like, I don't wanna say, like, interesting, but it's, like, interesting because 'cause we've been along for this ride. I feel like I wanna see that moment, but, I feel like the rest of it, I don't really know, like, I don't really care what happens with Rebecca Minkoff the rest of the season. Aaron, like, I'm just so, like, disengaged with some of them. It's kinda sad.
I feel like prediction that, I mean, this isn't that big of a prediction, but it wouldn't shock me if this is a season where we get more from the reunion and it's going to be like, huh, okay, versus this season, just because some of our issues with the season, aside from the prank, which we beaten, uh, is the disconnect with the friendship you just mentioned with Sai and Brynn, and then the beginning of the season with all the text messages and the things that we don't know about. So having to put them in a room where they have to talk about all this stuff and confront each other, I think as viewers we're gonna be like, okay, So
Well, and
I
also, I
hope
would
so.
say
I hope only two parts though.
yeah, oh god, we don't need 3. But do you remember there were times, like when Nene was, like, half in, half out, where the season would just be mediocre, but the reunion always delivered, and that, like, I think that's a good point that you make, like, it could be I don't think it's gonna be Atlanta level
No, no,
reunion,
no, no.
but
Atlanta's.
like, that's a whole other, like, tier, but it could be one of those things, like, to your point, we have had reunions somewhat redeem a bad season. If everybody goes into it being honest, open, and truthful, we could be there. It's gonna be, I don't know, the whole, like, the reunion is gonna be like a whole other season in a way because of
Yes.
all that's happened. I mean, we've got obviously Brynn and Uba like still pissed at each other. Erin's now pregnant. I think it's gonna be really interesting when like everything with her and Gabe. I'm calling him Gabe now. I just think it's cute, but Abe. Um, like, now that she's like the whole Bitcoin, which there's a little bit more to that. Like, I think, she might have to talk a little bit more about this. This baby was obviously a whoops. I think she's openly said
He
that.
has openly said that, yes.
Not that, she's not excited or anything, but it was not planned. Yeah, so I think there's going to be a little bit more that they're going to have to like discuss than they've had in us. They think they've been able to kind of
Skirt by issues. I
skirt.
think they're going to
Yeah.
be more challenged in the moment. And yes, so I don't know. I think I could definitely see that, but we are still recapping the show. We will continue to do so.
And if you don't want to watch, you can just listen to our recaps. If you haven't done so already, please, please, please give us 5 stars, leave us a written review. It means so much to us. We've got a lot of fun content coming your way. And with that, make it a great day or don't. The choice is yours. We have some exciting steals and deals for you of the holiday season coming up. Loving some of these products that we've been using lately, and we've got great prices for you. So first up is the Nicole Miller Style Buds. These are wireless earbuds. They are great. They're easy to use. They fit in my ear perfectly. Crystal clear sound, advanced wireless technology. The Nicole Miller Style Buds feature a sleek and modern design with a compact and lightweight build that makes them perfect for on-the-go use. I love these because I like to have a pair of wireless earbuds. I like one at my home office, my office, and then one in my gym bag. And the price point for some of the other ones out there makes it where it's just really not reasonable to have that many pairs of these. So this would be great if you want an extra set for your, home office, your, office, or your gym bag, or a great gift for teens, for your mother-in-law, teachers, anybody that could use an extra pair. And let's face it, who couldn't? So you can get these steals and deals by going to aduroproducts.com/realmoms. The price for these style buds are $19.99, and that website is aduroproducts.com/realmoms.
And guys, this bad boy, so this is the FlexWorks Shiatsu pillow massager, and it has heat. I've been fighting with my 7-year-old over this thing. So after a while, sitting, working from home, I like to unwind. I'll grab my Kindle. It is amazing. The FlexWorks Shiatsu heated pillow massager delivers circular kneading massage using the latest and most advanced massage technology. You guys are not going to believe that this is now $29.99. Such a good steal. Would be a great gift for the father-in-law you don't know what to buy. The pillow's massaging nodes move inward and outward motion for a deeper, more authentic shiatsu massage feeling. The vibration and heating features will help further relax your muscles, stimulate blood flow to sore muscles, and the use of heat will help penetrate tired muscles in your upper back, lower back, neck, and shoulders. It is fantastic. It is. I'm kind of blown away that it's $20.99. Retails for $99. So you can get it at $29.99. Go to www.aduroproducts.com/collections/realmoms. That is www.aduroproducts.com/collections/realmoms.